Okay, in this exercise we're going to talk about one of the most important things for your radio program here at Methodist University, and that is uploading your show to the archives. The archives are incredibly important because that's how listeners can determine the value of your show. Also, not everybody gets a chance to catch your show live. This way they'll be able to follow up on it at will. Now, this is the show website. It can be accessed at www.methodistradio.com, and it contains special events based on the semester. There'll be new ones this semester. It also contains the current show lineup, which are all the shows that are currently done this semester, and show archives, which are previous shows which are noteworthy. But most importantly, it contains the schedule of shows. So, for example, Capo Caviar with Lindsay Miller was aired every day at 10 o'clock. Now, if you were to click on this link here, you would go to the Capo Caviar website, and here you will see the show archives and anything that she wanted to say about the show. So every show will have a time slot and will be aired at that time, and every show will have a website which you must update. Okay, so at this point you've just completed your first live show, and there it is. Right now we're calling this simply firstshow.mp3, and I would strongly suggest that you keep your file names down to one word. Don't have spaces in your file names. If you need to use spaces, use an underscore. The other thing is, make sure that your names are very simple and easy to remember. So first show might be a poor example. You might want to have the name of your show in one word and the number 1, or the date, whichever is easiest for you to remember. So the idea is we have to get this up onto the internet and to your server space. So the first thing you'll need to provide me with will be a username and a password for the server space. So now we come to the program that looks the most intimidating, but it's actually very easy to use. This is called FileZilla. It's available on all the systems you have access to, and you'll notice it's got that little red icon there. And so it's actually very easy to operate. The left side is the local files on your computer. The right side is the server space. So we'll start with the left side first. This is the folder which has the first show in it. Doesn't matter where this is the local computer. It could simply be a thumb drive. If you just put a thumb drive into the system and open up that window there, that's easy enough to understand. So nothing's going to happen over here until you log in. So the way you do that is you fill in these 3 windows. The first window is called Host, and that's where you put in the website. Now you do it a little bit differently than you would a browser. So it has to be ftp://www.methodistradio.com, and then you put in your username and your password, which I have to set up for you. And then you hit the enter button or quick connect, and you see it starts doing that. And then suddenly you get a window here. Now this has the index file, which is a web page, and web pages are nothing more than little text documents, which we're going to edit in a minute. So over here you have your first show, so what you're going to want to do is drag that over to there, and then you'll see the show will actually upload. And when it's finished, you can see that it will show up here in the cyberspace window. And so we're also going to take this file here, which is the HTML page, and just drag it over here. Now that won't take any time at all because it's simply a text document. And that's where we're going to put the information in for your show. Now there's a simple program that's available on all of the systems that I would suggest you use, but you can also use Notepad. This is Dreamweaver. This is actually a very old version of Dreamweaver. There are more current versions on all the systems, but Dreamweaver is such a simple program it doesn't really matter what version you use. And all we're going to do is open up that file. And so here in this dialog box, That's the file. It's called index.html, and I'm going to open it. And when I do, you're going to see a very simple piece of code. Now, there are 3 tabs here. If you go to the Design tab, you can see an approximation of what the file will look like. If you go into Code View, you can see the actual code that makes the file work. Now see, it isn't very complicated. There isn't even very much of it, but it doesn't necessarily look easy to read, but we'll sort of go into that as we go along. So if we go back to Design View, because that's a little easier to see, you can see that the show has no identity. Example of radio is the title of it, and all we say here is welcome to the show. We also have show archives, and there's a sort of a placeholder there. So I'm going to show you the very basics. First of all, the name of your show. We can highlight this, and let's say I call this the MU voice. That's it. I just named the show. And let's say where it says welcome to the show, I will just add, this is your go-to place for news and special events. Could be as simple as that. Or you can add whatever description you want of your show, and it's your show, so you know what it's going to be. Now the show archives, this is where it gets better. So here is the archive. That's what users are going to click on to hear your show. So I'm going to put a marker there. I'm just going to click on it there, left click, and I'm going to go to code, and it'll take me to that particular line of code that represents that. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to highlight this, and we're going to say, we're going to put in the date of the show. So let's say we're going to call this September 1st. And then over here, right next to it, you're going to see a reference to a radio file. And so all we're going to do is we're going to highlight that and call that first show.mp3. It has to be the exact name of the file. And now, when you click on that, it will work. Now, after you've done your first show, or your second show, all you will do is highlight this, right-hand click, copy, and then next line down, Control-V, or paste it in, and then you would put in your second show, whatever that happens to be, and change the date. And that's all it will be. So if you save the file, just hit File, Save, then go back to FileZilla and drag this over to here, your index page. It will re-upload that. And then at some point you'll get this prompt where you're prompted to overwrite it, and hit OK, and there it is. So then, if you go to your browser, you would have a place in the lineup where you could check it. In this particular case, I have to put it manually. And here it is, the MU voice. Welcome to the show. This is your go-to place for news and special events. And if I click on my show archive, it will begin playing. And that is the show archive. If something's wrong, it will go to a default page. And so there it is. And you can decorate your page any way you want it. You can put pictures up here, anything like that, and we'll talk about a few of those in a later tutorial.